It's evening. I think it's the 4th of September. What they call a long weekend, Labor Day. I won't discuss the problems of labor in the United States and the history of labor. Everybody's so busy ignoring the facts, so cheers. It's after 5. Let's see, it's 5:47. Cheers. So tonight I'm taking a break from cooking. We're going to order out for Chinese, a very New York thing to do. We're going to have scallion pancakes and steamed vegetable dumplings. And then we're going to have chicken with mixed vegetables steamed with a black bean sauce on the side, because the Chinese in New York use way too much sauce. And we're also going to have squid. I love squid. We're ordering salt and pepper squid. It's a lot of food, but there's going to be leftovers tomorrow night and maybe even some to take to the studio. So I'm not wearing a hat tonight. You'll notice with my long hair that I've never had in my entire life. When I work in the studio, I have to put it in a little ponytail because it gets in my face and it blows in the wind and it's like, but I'm having fun with it. So I have something to tell you about from the early 80s. I had moved my studio to Ludlow Street, and in the about 1985. And Ludlow Street at that time was unknown. People didn't know Ludlow Street. And it was dangerous. It was a wicked street. There was some nasty stuff going on there. But the studio was great. It was a raw space, and I converted it into my studio, and I worked really well there for almost 18 years. Unfortunately, Ludlow went very upscale and become very well known and chic and fashionable, and the people from all over New York were there to do the Saturday night thing. Okay, big deal. But here's the deal. One day, I was down on Delancey, and Delancey was always a way hardcore street. I mean, hardcore. And at the corner of Delancey and Allen, there used to be a Burger King. It became a Starbucks later on. But when it was a Burger King, it was a hot day. I'm telling you about New York when it's 100 degrees. And I was waiting to meet somebody because I was going to look at some work that was in somebody's studio on Allen. And I had about 20 minutes, and it was so hot. I thought, I'm going to go into the Burger King and get a club soda, like a big club soda. So I went in, and I'm standing in line, and the 3 guys in front of me, it's just obvious that they're undercover. 3 dudes. I mean, they're so undercover. So I asked the guy, the one right in front of me, I said, "Can I ask you a question?" He said, "Sure. What is it?" I said, "Why do undercover cops always look like undercover cops?" And he smiled and he said, "That's a great question. You really want to know the truth?" I said, "Damn, yeah, what's up?" He said, "Yeah, we undercover cops look like undercover cops. And the cops who are in uniform look like cops. And the cops that are in cop cars look like cops in cop cars. And the undercover cops in undercover cop cars look like, because, like a Dodge with black wall tires and an antenna coming out of the, yeah. But he said, that's just not the way it is. He said, what it really is there's all sorts of cops you would never even guess are cops. There's taxi cabs, there's normal cars, there's people walking around, there's vagrants, there's rich people, there's tourists. You never know. And I said, well, what's up with that? He said, well, the trick is we want to know where the bad guys are and what the bad guys are doing. And it's a game. The bad guys know who we are and we know who the bad guys are. And so we all adjust and do our daily thing. But the bad guys don't know a lot of who we really are. And we're always watching them and know where they are and what they're doing. And I said, well, that's really interesting. What's the whole plan behind that? He said, well, you see, the thing is, if law enforcement were more efficient, you would start getting more dangerous criminals. And so we have this kind of balance where they know us, we know them, we watch them, they watch us. If we get more hardcore and we go down harder on them, you're going to have a lot more dangerous criminal to deal with. And I went, that's amazing. I said, so let me ask you a question. He said, okay, what is it? I said, I have a loft on Ludlow, and I go into my studio really early in the morning, like maybe 5 or 6 in the morning, and across the street, there's a feeding frenzy of heroin. There's like a heroin dealer with a half a block long, and we're not going to discuss the right and wrong of heroin, and we're not going to discuss the right and wrong of law enforcement and drugs, because that's insane. But still, the fact that they're out on the street selling a half a block long of people heroin there's a lot of bad shit goes on around that, and there's shootings, and he said, yeah, I know, and if it's a problem on your block, you just have to call the precinct and talk to the desk that handles drug enforcement. And I said, oh, well, that's really interesting. He said, well, what time do they do this? I said, well, they're probably around 7 to 7:30 in the morning. He said, oh, yeah, that's because the enforcement of drugs doesn't open their desk until 8:30. That's my story. Cheers.